Cheer Up, but they're not just they didn't just co-opt the song. You know, it's not just like a bunch of shots of them being presidential while like fight song plays like Hillary Clinton, right? These are full parody songs of that talk about how great they are as candidates to the tune of this, but they both did it.
Wow.
There are two separate parody songs about this based on this K-pop song.
The same original song?
Yeah, Cheer Up.
Is it the same karaoke version of the song, meaning it like sounds the same?
Different people, like, I mean, I guess it's probably the same like backing. I don't know if it's the exact same backing track. Here's the song here. Hold on.
Oh my Lord.
So this is one of the dudes. And then here's this other dude. So I guess they went the extra. They went the extra mile and like actually threw in some of his audio there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was him, but so at first I thought they both sang it or something. But I guess.
All right, we're ready to go.
Yeah, we're good.
I'm here. Wait. When you're talking, I was hearing an echo. Was that a delay, or did you have an audio source?
Sometimes when Justin plays audio on his side and then I start talking again, you can kind of hear me a little bit, but then it kind of goes away. I have experience.
Got it.
It's the way, I think it's the way his monitor works or something. It's a little sensitive.
Right. Cool. Then let me hide.
Okay.
And I'll let you start. So you're going to start recording right before you do your bit.
Yeah. I'll start, and then when you do my bit, you'll know I've started.
Got it.
Because I've already started. It's already recording. Yeah. And then I'll just go back and cut this part out when I'm done.
Got it. Cool. All right, hiding.
All right, here we go. Let's start it off. Get my little cues up here. Here we go. All right. I think we're ready to go. We are ready to go. Here it goes. It starts in 3, 2, 1. The Daily Tech News Show is powered by you. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News Show for Thursday, April 27th, 2017. I'm Scott Johnson, filling in for Tom Merritt. I'm joined today by a good friend and your usual Thursday co-host, Justin Robert Young.
A pleasure to be on with you, Scott, as always.
Yeah, I like when we get to hang out. We don't ever do it under the auspices of let's discuss technology news, though. So this is new and weird, right?
No, yet another facet of our culture that we can fail to meet people's expectations.
Yeah, we'll see how we do. I'm really excited about today's report card, but we wish Tom the best. He's fine. He had an appointment that he couldn't schedule a different time. He asked us to step in. We were happy to do it, and he's probably listening now, hoping also for the best. Let's see if we can give it to him with some of these little tech things you should know. The Apple App Store will raise prices in Mexico, Denmark, and countries using the euro. In an email to developers, Apple cited the changes were related to foreign exchange rates. The new pricing changes will go into effect before the end of next week. Earlier this week, Apple announced a significant decrease in its affiliate program commission rate. That really pissed off, by the way, a bunch of people I know who cover apps and games. A good example of this would be toucharcade.com. They rely a lot on those referrals, and those guys got dinged really hard by this.
I mean, it's a changing market, and it's becoming more and more and more of where people make money. But, you know, this is some of the stuff that just needs to happen overseas as these, you know, we're in changing and turbulent times when it comes to currencies. And this is just one of the many ripples that we see from it.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because later in the show, our main topic deals directly with the changing seas of how we transfer money back and forth. We'll get to that in a bit. Also, Engadget is reporting that Nintendo director Genyo Takeda is stepping down this June. This dude has been in his position for 46 years. He is absolutely the old guard at the company, although he only looks about 46 years old. He's actually 68. During his time with the company, produced and directed notable titles like Punch-Out and Pilot Wing 64. He designed the N64 analog stick controller. That thing is hugely influential right up until this day. And filling his role will be Ko Shiota, head of Nintendo's platform technology development division and hardware lead on the Wii U. It should be noted that Takeda was the primary mind behind the original Wii and its success. Kind of a big deal, though, Justin. Think about it. Like, that's a long-ass time. I was like a year old or something when that happened, when he joined the company back in 71.
Yeah, and I was many negative years from being born, but these are changing times for Nintendo as well. I mean, they obviously had the huge shakeup or the huge loss in leadership last year, and now this seems like a good time for people to kind of shuffle out of old roles and into new roles, as they've had a platform over deliver for them with the Switch.
Yeah, Switch is doing really well. Let's talk about some more top stories. Apple is in talks to launch its own Venmo reports Recode, or according to Recode, they're the ones reporting it. According to sources familiar with the matter, Apple recently held talks with payment partners about a Venmo competitor, letting iPhone owners send money digitally to other iPhone owners. A source familiar with the plans expects the company to announce the service later this year. However, another source cautioned that the announcement and launch date may not be set. Apple held similar talks with banks back in 2015. We are going to pry that egg right open during our main topic today and talk about whether Apple has what it takes in the web services arena to even tackle such an idea, let alone get the hearts and minds of the Venmo user base interested at all. So we'll get all to that a bit, but pretty exciting stuff if that's true. It means an interesting piece of competition from a very big player with a dubious past.
Well, sure. I think, and what we're going to go into a little bit more later is how much of this is just money on the table for Apple to take. They can probably get a fairly good idea of how much goes from iPhone to iPhone on Venmo right now. So if they could make something a little bit more intuitive and easy, then it's just money that is theirs to have. Google has also introduced neural machine translation in 9 Indian languages in Chrome, including Hindi, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, Marathi, Gujarati, Punjabi, and Malayalam. I'm sorry, India. Neural translation is more accurate by translating whole sentences at a time rather than individual words. Google has added 11 more Indian languages to its Gboard keyboard, bringing the total to 22 Indian languages. And I'm sure you could say idiot in all 22.
It sounded a little like a new version of the Laverne and Shirley intro song as you were going along there, especially when you got to Tamil. Nintendo said it expects to sell 10 million Nintendo Switch consoles, which could help double annual operating profit and end what we're looking at here, which is an 8-year sales decline. That's pretty ugly. 2.74 million Switch systems sold or shipped in March, beating a goal of 2 million by 40%. Nintendo said, or also noted that Super Mario Run is nearly 150 million free downloads with paid users below 10%, and 3DS sales increased to 7.27 million. On a side note here, new Switch is in a lot of stores this weekend, so get out there and grab them. Super Mario Kart coming out tomorrow, Super Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is kind of a refitting and updating of the hit Wii U title. But one thing that you don't see mentioned in this, and we're not going to talk a ton about, but they've got another mobile game in the form of, the name just left me. Why can't I think of the name of that game? Anyway, their other mobile game is extremely successful, has way, way less than 150 million free users. It's also a free game, but has something like 10 times the revenue. So I think this is a moment for, speaking of Nintendo and mobile, for them to learn the lessons from these two titles and figure out what their mobile plan is going to be for the future. In the one case, they asked for $10. Not a lot of people are paying it. They're just playing the free version. And in the other case, it's a free game and it's available to anybody. You could play it for free indefinitely, but people are throwing microtransactions at it like crazy. So anyway, it's an interesting year for Nintendo. Everything sort of looks on the up and up. And I feel like we haven't been able to say that for, 8 years or so.
Well, sure. Their transition into mobile gaming was always going to be fraught with peril, right? They had very, very specific ideas of why they hadn't gotten into it previously. They were very resistant to get into it. They got into it really with one toe first. And so there is little surprise in the idea that they wanted to go in with a, hey, pay up front or let's gate off content. So you have to just give us a lump sum because that's how they know business has run forever. I think that they are hopefully a company that can adapt to it. As to the Switch, you really just got to take your hat off to them, because this is a launch that many people, I think, correctly criticized Nintendo for being way underpowered when it came to games. That it was a weird launching cycle. They didn't do it for Christmas last year. They did it for the spring. The idea was to kind of supercharge their ability to run them off in larger quantities during the holiday season this year. And man, it has worked to perfection. I mean, just look at that. 3DS sales have increased to 7.27 million. They're going to sell 10 million Switches this year, which is amazing. They've already sold 2.74 million just in this pre-launch, where really only a new Zelda game was driving them. They don't have Mario out yet. They're just releasing Mario Kart this week. So good on Nintendo. This was something that I think that they needed. And this is Nintendo at its best. Their console is social coup. It is cool to have one. It is cool to be seen with one. And it is a triumph of design as opposed to hardware.
Yeah, and they're actually selling more Zelda copies than they have consoles right now. It's selling more than 1-to-1, which is a really weird place to be. That speaks to the quality of that game. Also, before everyone floods Tom with emails, it's Fire Emblem Heroes is the game I couldn't remember. That's the iOS game that's making bank for Nintendo. So good on them for that, and good on me for forgetting the important title as we were talking.
Meanwhile, digital advertising revenue rose 22% to $72.5 billion in 2016, according to a report from PricewaterhouseCoopers for the Interactive Advertising Bureau. Mobile passed desktop ad spending for the first time, and digital spending as a whole passed television spending for the first time. The IAB also emphasized that 31% of growth came from outside the top 10 ad companies, which are dominated by Google and Facebook.
I
Is
feel
it a surprise to you, Scott?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like the appropriate response to this is to be surprised that all of the not dire predictions, but the predictions over the last few years that Google and Facebook would dominate ad networks to the degree that they would become monopolistic, that we were going to have some kind of crazy intervention breakup of these companies, that it wasn't fair, that they would control so much of the market. If you would have warned me about this report and said, Scott, what do you think the percentage is? I would have said, well, Google's probably got 90%, Facebook's got the other 10, and I don't know where the rest are coming from. That's a little extreme, obviously, but 31% growth outside of those two juggernauts is enormous. Like, that's actually...
Well, all right. I think you might be overstating this a little bit. I mean, certainly it is good to see that there are players that are not owned by Facebook and Google that are doing better than they would otherwise. But that is not to say that Facebook and Google are in any way not absolutely dominating. And also, who's to say? I think both these companies are probably going to ride the line as close as they can in terms of acquiring these companies that are on the make. So I would pump the brakes on that idea. I don't think that we're in any way out of the woods on looking at those two companies specifically as not having the largest share and kind of an iron fist on this. What I'm kind of surprised about is that this hasn't happened sooner, that mobile hasn't surpassed desktop sooner, and that just digital spending hasn't passed TV sooner. It reminds me of, there was a time, I think it was 2005, that I was reading in a newspaper, shows you where, we were in an era back then, that for the first time ever, broadband internet had surpassed dial-up. And most of the people that I knew had broadband internet for 5-6 years at that point. And you just kind of realize that this is a lagging indicator, but it really just shows you that this media market has totally shifted.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday I was arguing with Tom about whether Twitter could pull off 24-hour live streaming video television content on their platform. And he made lots of good sort of arguments as to why that would work out pretty well. But I forget that this is part of that. We are seeing a complete flip over, not dominance, but we've gotten to that point where more advertising is happening digitally and being delivered mobilely than ever before. It makes sense almost across the board. If you have a service with some millions of subscribers, users, daily activity. If you're not pushing ads through video and through content, you're insane. Like, it has to be part of your business model. And this study sort of helps confirm that in my head. The Guardian reports that Uber will offer its UK drivers sickness cover in return for a €2 a week fee to
pounds.
Oh, what did I always read that one wrong. Pounds a week fee. I'm trying to get out of Britain. I'm trying to Brexit out of this thing.
Oh yeah, they never had euro, but yeah, sure.
That's true. They never did.
No,
they were never really in, man. They were always just kind of.
They had 1 foot out the door from the get. Don't you try to fool us, Britain.
Anyway, this is a £2 a week fee in a bid to head off criticism of the company's working conditions. By the way, I was reading just before the show that the current Uber CEO supposedly has the second highest score in Wii tennis. I just wanted to point that out real quick. I don't know if it's
really Travis Kalanick has the second highest score in Wii tennis.
Isn't that really weird? It's a weird stat. You can Google it, everybody. It's out there. Anyway, what was my point? Oh, Uber drivers in 25 British towns and cities who drove more than 500 trips will be eligible for payments of up to £2,000. It's a lot of pounds if they are unable to drive for 2 weeks or longer because of illness. They also get £2,000 in the event they are called for jury service. That's what we call duty over here. £300 a week if an accident takes place during a trip or while logged into the app. That's weird. The Guardian estimates the policy will cost Uber several millions of pounds a year. But in an overarching global effort to improve what they do with their customers and with their employees, quote unquote employees, their drivers, this seems like it's right in line with what Uber has to do to improve their image.
No, they are not quote unquote employees. And if you say that they are employees, Uber will slap the taste out of your mouth to make sure that you never forget that they are indeed not employees. No, they're friends. But now with this, maybe they're friends with benefits. This is an interesting move for Uber to say, hey, you don't have to be an employee to get extra stuff out of us. What you want is extra stuff. You don't really want to be an employee. An employee means that now we would be able to demand that you do different things. We want to keep this super cash, bro. So here's 2,500 American if you get sick or you have jury duty. But we'll just do the nice things, right? Like maybe we'll send you a cake on your birthday, or we'll just do the good parts about being an employee without the pesky us telling you what to do, or insurance or workman's comp, or us providing you a vehicle or anything.
Don't they run the risk though? I mean, this maybe is too far out there, but I'll ask you anyway. Do they run the risk by doing some of these things, even though they are kind of nice surface level stuff? Do they run the risk of then making themselves look like they're more of an employee-employer relationship, and therefore, especially in the UK where regulations get a little crazy, those guys could swoop in and say, so you're giving them some benefits. Well, that automatically qualifies you as an employer. We're going to now start treating these people as your employees, which means they can unionize, which means they can blah, 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 blah.
Far be it from me to propose myself as a British labor expert, but I think for them, they're already in those positions. Uber is a profitable enough company that many people are going to look at them and say, well, why aren't you taking more care of these people? Why aren't they employees? They certainly feel like employees and they look like employees. Now, that is anathema to Uber's business model, and they have fought tooth and nail against it. But I think this is basically just, you are an independent contractor. And this is just a cool person to catch a gig from because they do cool things for you. In its most recent software update, UAV maker DJI geofenced large portions of Iraq and Syria as no-fly zones. In a statement, DJI reiterated that their geofences are designed to notify pilots of aerospace restrictions, not intended to enforce laws or thwart misconduct. So they're just telling you that this is a no-fly zone. What you do is up to you, maniac.
Well, and also, I mean, I've seen their latest, the Mavic 2 or whatever it is, the new Mavic drone that they make. I've seen that thing in action, and I've seen it behave strangely in cases where it's in an area it's not supposed to. I've seen them try to fly by some military training places out here and training, military training places. And I've seen them kind of go up, nope, turn around, come back the other way. I still think all that stuff can be hacked. And so all this stuff is just like goodwill from them. But in the end, you can fly whatever you want over there eventually. So there you go. Hey, this just in. Beep, 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 beep. Alphabet earnings from CNBC. We've got a lot of earnings calls today, so we're going to rip right through them. Alphabet earnings from CNBC. Earnings per share, $7.73 versus $7.39 a share, according to Thomson Reuters consensus estimate. Revenue, $24.75 billion versus $24.2 billion. According to Thomson Reuters, and UP are up compared to a year ago when Google's parent reported adjusted first quarter earnings of $6.02 per share on $20.26 billion in revenue. That means revenue increased 22% over the last year. So that's
Scott, here I get the next one here. Microsoft earnings. Microsoft reported earnings of 73 cents per share at $23.56 billion in revenue. Analysts expected earnings of 70 cents per share at $23.62 billion in revenue, according to Thomson Reuters consensus estimates. Intelligent cloud revenue was $6.8 billion versus $6.6 billion expected, according to Street Account consensus. So a little beating expectations on the cloud.
Yeah, for actually all these so far. All right. Amazon earnings from CNBC, earnings per share, $1.48 versus $1.12. That's an estimate according to, again, Thomson Reuters consensus. Revenue, $35.7 billion versus $35.3 billion estimate. And AWS sales increased 42% to $3.66 billion. The stock surged to $961.80 in extended trading after closing at a record $918.76. Everybody doing well. And a lot of it seems to be based on cloud services.
Yeah, look at that. AWS doing well, even though they accidentally, deleted a few tables off a spreadsheet and shut down the internet a month ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the more that number goes up, the more I worry a little bit that we all have a lot of eggs in one basket, internet-wise. It's all over there on Amazon S3 servers, and that's fine, and that's great, and the technology is amazing, and it's cheaper, and it's all those things. But we are really counting on them to hold it together, and I hope they can. That takes care of your headlines, everybody. To get all the tech headlines each day, you can get them in the morning for about 5 minutes or so. How do you do that? You go over to dailytechheadlines.com and check it out. It's also on the Anchor app, where Tom puts those up each and every day, so go check that out as well. Our discussion story today.
Yeah.
Is Apple going to launch a rival to Venmo? First of all, are they? And second of all, what do we make of all of that? Justin, we're talking about digital payments, one-to-one digital payments, as well as other stuff. Venmo did something like $7.7 billion in record transfers last year. They are owned by PayPal. Fact that PayPal seems okay, that nobody knows about. They don't really care if millennials know that it owns Venmo. In fact, it's probably better that they don't. PayPal feels like grandpa's digital payment service, and Venmo is like the hot millennial thing to have. We'll talk more about that later. It's a lucrative space, and you mentioned earlier, Apple has a lot of data about how their phones and devices and users use, their phones and their apps. They probably know exactly what's going on with Venmo on the device. So my question to you is, can Apple successfully or unsuccessfully attempt to become the next PayPal /Venmo digital cash transfer service?
Can they either successfully or unsuccessfully do it? Yes, they can successfully or unsuccessfully do it. But I think the big question is, why would Apple target this as a natural outgrowth for them? And here's the reason. They're already a trusted place where you had your credit card forever. This is part of the reason why the iTunes store became such a gigantic winner for them so long ago, back at the turn of the century. This was like Amazon, one of the few trusted players where you just handed them your credit card and you were happy to have a one-touch buying experience. For Apple, it was music, and then eventually other stuff, including in the Apple Store. Amazon, of course, it was everything else on the planet. But here's where Apple has a distinct advantage. On your iPhone, for iPhone owners, they have all your contacts. You don't theoretically have to ask somebody what their Venmo number is. You don't have to ask them what their PayPal address is. If they have another iPhone and they can automatically say that, all right, here's an Apple Cash thing, boom. Like, this is already done for you. It is a frictionless experience compared to the already fairly frictionless experience that Venmo operates. But here's the question. Can Apple shake off what has been a bugaboo for them since Steve Jobs was running that company? And that is their web services are, to coin a phrase, booty.
That's the mountain to climb. Clearly, their web services in the past have been terrible. There's no questioning that. Some would say, well, wait, Apple Pay's pretty good. And you made the point before the show, and I would concur. The reason Apple Pay works very simply and easily is because they're just acting as a front end for an already existing ecosystem of banks and credit card approvals and other stuff. There's really no rocket science, to coin a bad phrase for it, involved in the way Apple Pay works. It's really just front end to front end, and you either accept that as the vendor, the store, or whatever, or not. Very similar to the way Google Wallet works and other services. So what they're actually talking about implementing is them taking on the additional role of holding funds and moving those funds around and being really the entire chain from request to completion. And whether that money represents actual cash and where it represents it doesn't matter. They are in effect the courier that will be carrying your money back and forth in the way that Venmo is, in the way that PayPal is. So that's a very distinct difference. And that means a lot more in terms of back end and infrastructure and smart people and business plan and everything else. There's a reason why PayPal's really good at this and why the purchase of Venmo made sense for them. It's all they do. And any other related companies they have and own and carry, that's all they do too, or it's at least related. This is a case where a desktop phone, tablet software manufacturer is going to get into a financial services business that is not something they've ever had to deal with before. And every time Apple's done this with something they're not used to, the results have been kind of bad. They've been great when it's in their wheelhouse, but as soon as we're out of their core competency, it's been a bit of a struggle. So I 100% agree with you that that's a problem. It is absolutely booty historically, although I've never heard that before. I like that a lot. It's pretty good. But here's the bigger question. Let's say they can successfully jump over that hurdle. We can still talk about that hurdle, but let's say that they do. My larger concern is, even as someone who spends a lot of time in the Apple ecosystem, that's a portion of the market that they will do well with, probably because we've already got the devices or whatever. But there's a huge swath of people who are on Android and other devices that are they going to get a version of Apple, whatever it's going to be called, Apple Millennial Money Transfer.com? Or are they going to be left out in the cold? Will it be a half-assed version of the app on that thing and never very good, like iTunes on Windows, or like, I don't actually know how Apple Music on Android is. I hear it's okay. I love Apple Music on in Apple stuff, but I have no idea how it functions over there. So are we going to end up with this again split ecosystem, and maybe they don't care about that? Because that seems huge when you're talking about.
But so let me ask you, because Apple does have this distinction. Apple Music, iTunes are platforms that they wanted to build to play on Windows, to play on Android, right? Messages, which you would think in the rise of chat apps being very, very dominant, that Apple might have an incentive to build out apps specifically, because they have a store now with stickers and everything that they get a cut on, that they would want to build those out for Android, and yet they have not. Mm-hmm. So on which side of that line do you think this would land? Well,
that's a great question. Like, I remember when the new version of iMessage came out, and it introduced stickers and the games you could play within it, and the App Store for those games, all that stuff. And I remember you being on Twitter or somewhere just raving about it. Man, this is
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree. It's totally rad. It's been awesome. I like it a lot. But it feels like it's happening in this not tiny, it's obviously big, but it's happening in this fenced off space, this walled off garden, as some may say. And it's not happening anywhere else. So one of their great strengths on the platform has always been iMessage is this great step way above what instant messaging, or rather text messaging, SMS used to give us. And why on earth could they not translate that someplace else, to take it someplace else? And I think that they could, but I do worry. I mean, that version of iTunes for Windows is garbage, dude. It's bad. It's like terrible. And I like iTunes. So that's me saying that. The version on the Mac is wonderful. Always has been. I have no problem with it. Some could argue whether they think it's long in the tooth or whatever, but it's always done what I needed it to do. But it's terrible on that other platform. So whenever they extend outside of this space they've created, as happy as we all may be in there sometimes, they blow it on the other side. So I guess I just don't have any indication that they can do it because they haven't yet. Is this the one? Because if they want this, they can't just stop with their ecosystem and their happy buyers. It has to go further. It has to extend to the other side, or else what is the point of this? Venmo will just keep eating their lunch. It's kind of like, I mean, Apple Music has certainly made inroads, but Spotify's not scared. I don't think they are anyway.
Yeah, that's up for debate. You know, I think that Spotify certainly has been shaken a little bit by Apple's ability to play hitmaker with some of the exclusives and everything. But that's a conversation for another day. Here's where I would say I'm with you. I think that they would keep this as a Apple side exclusive. Number one, they have had fragmentation problems on their own end. The Apple Messages app that I really, really like on iOS does not transfer to my desktop. I do not have the same access to the sticker libraries on my desktop that I do on my iOS device. I don't have the same ability to like and thumbs up and laugh at certain comments that I do on my iOS device. It shows up in that janky Android, like blank laughed at an image. And it's like, okay, that's not great. Also, I think Apple's got a long way to go. You know, if you look at what is the
WhatsApp?
The way to send stuff, the file transfer protocol that they have. AirDrop.
Yeah, AirDrop. Yeah.
You know, AirDrop is janky. Sometimes it's magic. Sometimes it's not. It's very, very fickle to get it to work. And you need to have 6 things turned on. And if one of them's not turned on either side, it's a problem. Mm-hmm. I would suspect that they would want some of that functionality for a payment transfer service, right? They would want to make it as magical as possible because that's Apple's bit. And yet they haven't been able to do it. So I would hope, here's my hope for this. I hope they do it. I hope that it shores up some of that AirDrop technology. I hope that they make it a super easy, no nonsense way that I can, via Siri, via my watch, via whatever, just easily send money from one person to another in a variety of different ways, whichever way is most appropriate based on the device that I'm on, be it voice on my watch, be it a thumbprint on my phone or something else on my Mac or desktop. And I hope that once that's there and it's cool and it works on all my devices, as somebody who has bought into the Apple ecosystem as hard as I have, then think about stretching it further out.
That's good.
Because that's always been their problem.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. The only other thing I would add here is they have a little bit of a branding problem. If the people you're trying to get, Venmo specifically, Venmo has always thrived in a youth-oriented market. It's how 18-year-olds pay each other for their weed. I shouldn't say that. Pay each other for services and goods. Okay? It is. It just straight up is. And it has some social hooks and some other stuff that you don't find in PayPal. There's a reason PayPal doesn't call it PayPal Venmo or PayPal and renamed it back to PayPal or something. They kept it Venmo and they don't actively advertise that they own it for a reason, because PayPal is grandpa, Venmo is the hot newness. If Apple wants to avoid being Grandpa Cook's old-timey money transfer, they need to think about that. Now, how they do that, I don't know. That's really hard. You can take all the marketing classes in the world and you cannot figure out what but
Apple's a brand. I mean, Apple is Apple, right? You know, they just need to build the thing that works, and their brand has remained remarkably steadfast. You know, I think that's and to be honest, I don't know if their key demo is, you know, hashtag the kids TM. Like, I think that they want to be the easy, frictionless way that I can pay my mom or my mom can pay me. And I'm 30 and she's, you know, 60. So I think that is more where they are looking for necessarily than the kids.
Yeah, no, I it's a fair point. I mean, everybody wants to talk about this as a Venmo competitor, and that makes the brain go, oh, you mean to compete with this millennial favorite money transfer thing? That's maybe not what they're doing at all. They may just be saying, well, no, we want to let people move money around.
Payments in general are shifting rapidly. The way that we do things, even the credit card, your credit card is different than it looked 10 years ago. The idea of contactless payments, Samsung wants to get into this with Samsung Pay. Apple got into it with Apple Pay. NFC has radically transferred not only how we pay for things, but also who takes a cut on them. There's a reason why a lot of like CVS's and everything refused to get in on Apple Pay initially, because they were like, no. If there's gonna be a technology shift, we don't want credit cards involved. We would rather just deal with the bank so we don't have to pay a credit card fee with every transaction. That's millions, if not billions of dollars in the long run for us, just in one technological shift alone. So Apple would be dumb to not put their flag in the ground and say, all right, we don't know where all this is going to go, but for however much is already going from iPhone to iPhone, we would like to make that simpler. And we would like to take all but a tiny piece, or just make it cooler to get an iPhone, because this is the cooler way and easier way that you can do stuff like that.
Well, I think time's going to tell on this thing. And if the show isn't called Uncle Cook's or Grandpa Cook's Old Timey Money Transfer, then we're doing something wrong today. I want to thank everybody who participates in our subreddit, by the way, submitting stories and so on over there. You can do your own stories over there, submit them and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. And topics like this are not immune. It may end up being a main topic, something you vote on over there. So please do it. Quickly, let's do our pick of the day. You can send your picks, by the way. Oh, we don't have a pick of the day, do we? We're just going to write to messages. Let's do it. Message of the day. This one says Tom, but we'll put Justin and Scott in there as well. It's Josh. What?
I said, hey, look at that.
Oh, hey, look at that. All right. Tom, it's Josh from the chef from Detroit. The chef. I was listening to the story about Senate having fake PIVs. We talked about this yesterday. Wow. It says, wow, the Veterans Administration has transitioned all employees to PIVs with two-factor authentication. I have been struggling to get my new dishwasher a proper PIV badge so he can access his annual leave. Not always an easy process. Maybe I can just draw a picture of a chip on his badge. Ironic that a food service worker must have a PIV badge, but the Senate staff does not. Regardless, I had to chime in when I heard you talking about this. Have a great day, Josh. So yesterday we talked about this. Quick summary, the Senate guys all have like these fake photos of chips on their cards that do nothing. They don't add any second factor or anything. They don't add, there's no security. It's just so it looks like there's a chip in it.
Yeah.
Whereas White House staff all have chips in theirs. And I don't know, he makes a pretty good point. I just don't, Tom and I were flummoxed. We don't understand why have anything. Why have the chip? A picture of the chip does nothing. It's just the appearance of something that doesn't do anything. So it's still the dumbest thing in the world. What do you think about it? I'm very curious what you think about a fake chip on your. Yeah,
it reminds me of people that just put up the "This house is protected by ADT" sign in their yard.
Yeah. That's a good one. No, like fake security cameras or
yeah. It's like sometimes security theater is its own security, right?
I thought about that. I wish I'd have thought to mention that yesterday. I actually had in our old house, we had two really official blinking with lights and everything security cameras, front door, back door, and they didn't do a thing. In fact, they moved even, but they didn't transmit video, no actual cameras. Yeah.
How much less did you pay for that instead of just getting a camera?
I think they were like maybe $10 a piece.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah, they were a lot less than I would have paid. But if you held them, they were plastic
specials. If you get something like that for that cheap, that's good.
Exactly, and they were plasticky and kind of cheap and lame and all that. So there was nothing really fancy going on there, but pretty funny scenario regardless. Thanks for your email. Big thanks for that. Really appreciate all those emails that come to Tom at feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. That's feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. I think we're done. Justin.
Yeah.
We're done, buddy. Me and you have to just draw a line in the sand and say that's all we could do on a Thursday. But I'm real curious about anything you have going on in the world that you'd like to mention now.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for listening and dealing with me and Scott barking at each other in lieu of your regular sage and wise Tom Merritt. You can follow me everywhere that there is to follow. Justin R. Young, Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat. Thank you guys so much, and I look forward to individually paying you all $1 on Apple Cash.
Me as well. Want to thank the patrons. I don't know if you guys know this, but you ever wonder what we talk about before the show begins? Interesting. Sometimes it's the news, sometimes it's food, sometimes it's something about a movie we saw, sometimes it's about what we're going to talk about on the show, sometimes it's totally different than any of that. Patrons get an exclusive RSS feed that they can add to any app they would listen to their podcasts, and they get exclusive pre-show plus the regular show and post-show. Just support us at any amount at patreon.com/DTNS, and you'll love what Justin talked about before today's episode.
Oh, it's a rich one.
Yeah, I'm never going to forget it. Big thanks, everybody, for listening. Once again, our email address, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Live Monday, every Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And check out alphageekradio.com, diamondclub.tv, and the website, dailytechnewsshow.com. It's going to do it for us. For me, for Justin. We'll see you tomorrow. Whoops, wrong one. Here you go. This is the one. No, that's not it. Here you go.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
I'll fix that in post, Roger. I don't know what I was doing there. Totally screwed up my buttons.
Yeah.
No worries. I forgot to put Len in there. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Len hates me now. He thinks
not as actor. Yeah, I missed that. Okay.
Oh, you didn't say that either? Perfect.
No, I missed that. I just said, hey, cool people are on tomorrow. Come back, sort of thing. I knew it couldn't go perfect. We were pretty good up to that point.
It was good. It was a good show.
See you tomorrow. Okay, let me see if I can. Whoops, wrong one. Here you go. I'm going to fix this right now. Is that the right one? All right. We're good. Titles.
All right. So many titles. Hold on. No Fly Drones.
No Fly Drone.
Very simple, very direct. Apple's Walled Wallets. A show without me.
Oh,
thanks, Tom.
Dirty.
Tom put that one.
Oh, did he? What a son of a beasting.
That's rough, man.
Really?
Troll.
All this effort, Tom. All this effort. Just gotta rub it in. All right. People.
Okay.
PayPal. They're trying to say Apple and PayPal. PayPal.
All right. Pope. Got it.
This is a no DJI zone. The kids want Venmo, not a pal that pays. Not your father's web payment service. Dude, I'll pay you when I switch to iOS. I left my wallet in my other operating system. Show without merit. We've gotten so many of those in the past. Uncle Cook's old-timey money transfer. Be like a new version of Western Union. The way we look at Western Union and Cowboys, we'll look at PayPal and old guys selling sports memorabilia on eBay.
Darn it, guys! Stop voting up a show without me by Ace Detect.
Yeah, quit encouraging him. Don't let him get away with that.
It's got to be Grandpa Cook's old timey money transfer.
All right, I'm voting for that. I'm voting for that.
All right, I will second or third the vote.
Doesn't matter. It's up to me.
Okay. Totally fine. Totally works.
Grandpa Cook's old-timey money transfer. Nothing says I love you, grandchild, like pulling out my payment service to pay for your child bauble.
Support. Find out more. Tom doesn't make you hear what he's editing. I think we're ready to go. Okay. 2-1. There we go.
Oh, that's what that is.
And that's not me mumbling. That's me editing.
See, put this here.
Let's stick this. You want this in Slack like last time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that works. That works.
I think it went good.
It went well. It went awesome.
I like talking to Justin when he's really Justin. I'm going to talk about you in the third person for a second. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm not here. Don't worry. It's not weird.
Okay. I like to work with Justin Robert Young, and I mean, we get to talk about goofy stuff all the time, and I guess we're kind of like when he's on TMS, it's like a halfway mark between, like
funny and serious
or Night Attack and this, but it's fun to be in a place where you're like journalistic background, smart talking Justin comes out.
Smart talking.
It's hard to explain, but you've got like the wisdom is good, and it's good.
You have the wisdom of Solomon.
Yeah,
the strength of Hercules.
It's a thing. I don't know. I just enjoy it, and we always have plenty to say, so it's not like we're going to run out of stuff, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, and the only thing that sucks about this story is that it is just like yet another Apple rumor where like Apple's just such a fascinating company that it's like they can literally do anything because so few, like it's a weird self-perpetuating cycle, right? Mm-hmm. They don't do a ton of stuff. So therefore each rumor means more. Because if it comes true, it will be bigger because it will be one of the things that gets done.
Yeah,
you mean like an Apple car?
Yeah, so that in and of itself perpetuates more rumors, which means there are always going to be more rumors than there are things done, which makes more rumors. And so it's like we get to have these conversations, and it's great for the industrial talking head complex like us, where we have something to talk about every single day. But it's also like, okay, so yeah, they could, and it could be cool, and let's go ahead and fantasy book how it would, would do this, and it'd be exclusive, and it would be contactless, and Tim Cook would get out on stage, and he'd be like, well, now I wonder if somebody's going to give me $5, and then Eddie Q will come out and he'll be, still drunk from the night before, and his belly will be showing, and he'll be like, maybe I can. And then they'll
is that your impression of Tim Cook?
Yeah, Tim Cook talks
kind of like a Muppet.
He comes out and says, "We're so excited about this year's."
My favorite Tim Cook line was when he was doing the watch, and he was like talking about the heartbeat, sending the heartbeat. And he's like, I sure hope that somebody will send me their heartbeat. Like, oh, you're so adorable. Like, just even that Travis Kalanick, that Uber story. He's like, well, I heard you've been breaking our rules. It's like just so amazing. I mean, like, there's no way that Steve Jobs says it like that, right? Steve Jobs is like, I will eat your face if you don't change this wall in front of me. In fact, like, do it naked while I throw bologna at you.
Yeah.
I wonder if he drinks lemonade with like little leaves of mint in it. It just seems kind of like a very laid back kind of guy.
Well, he's a Southern dude, Southern.
But he's secretly vicious. Like, he comes off as very polite and not very offensive, but like, secretly he can whip it out. He can whip out a knife and stab you in the back when you least expect it.
Yeah, I think the rap on him was always that he's a lot more nicer and a lot more like non-confrontational than Jobs was, but he's like demands meticulous preparation for everybody. That's always his, like, he's always the guy that knows page 50 of every contract, like, because he was their logistics guy and their supply chain guy.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to imagine, because he's a huge Auburn football fan.
Yeah.
And so I just would like to imagine that he just he's like watching those like SEC games that nobody gives a shit about except for him, except for like diehard Auburn fans. And he's just like watching, Auburn versus Middle Tennessee Division II, and he's like, they give up a first down, and he's just like, well, shoot. Like that's my impression of Tim Cook watching Auburn football.
Well, he's always in new products. So it's
well, shoot. I can't believe they gave up a first down.
Wait, that sounds like someone though, not like Tim Cook, but someone else.
Yeah, it's ringing a bell.
Someone else.
Well,
who does it sound like?
That's a good boy.
I don't know.
It sounds like someone. Is it a cartoon or a sitcom? But someone who talks.
Is it from Brother Where Art Thou? When the kid says, "I nicked the census man last week," and he goes, "No, that's a good boy."
My mama done RUNNOFT.
Oh, I love that movie.
That movie's great.
I want to watch it now. Anyway.
All right, let me stop the live stream. Thank you all for listening. Tom will be back with Len Peralta and Ayaz Akhtar, or so they say in their email responses tomorrow. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
One day.